Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
All right, ladies and gents, welcome to another Note to File Live Sticky Notes edition. Denali, how's it going?
I'm here. It's been a hell of a morning, but I'm here.
Well, you know, those things happen.
They do.
It might make you feel better to know that August 14th is National Creamsicle Day.
Huh. Creamsicles are good.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
I don't think it deserves its own day, if I'm being honest.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue with that. Although, I mean, I do like the you know, you like the root beer floats, but you use like orange soda floats. So you use like orange crush and you put vanilla ice cream in it. So it's like a root beer float. And that kind of tastes like a creamsicle. It's actually pretty good.
I don't think I've ever done that.
It's pretty good. You should try it sometime.
Okay, well.
Because, you know, you're often making yourself root beer floats. So mixing it up is clearly what you need.
I'll change my usual 3 o'clock root beer float for an orange soda instead.
At least occasionally.
That's right. All right, you guys know the deal. These are, little looser episodes where we kind of talk about whatever. If you got comments, we want to hear them. Tell us maybe something you want to hear about, or tell us we're idiots, or, whatever you want.
Or both.
Get at us. Let's just kind of jump right in. And actually, first, I want to mention, if you guys didn't watch our interview with Dr. Manfred Stampf.
Here you go.
Notice that pronunciation.
That was good.
From Tuesday. You should check it out. Actually was really intrigued by it and left me with a lot of questions. And I brought it up. I think we should read the book and do like a little book review. Maybe even have him back. But I think it'd be
I ordered it.
Okay. Well, there you go. I like it.
No, it was fascinating. I think that's why I like those interview ones though too, because to our point of like why we want to do this, right? It's like we get to talk to people who we would never in a million years have a chance to talk to, and it was fascinating. I mean, like a massive amount of experience. Like it was a really interesting perspective and conversation, and that's why I like doing this shit.
Agree. Could not agree more. All right. Well, let's jump right in. After I clear my throat, apologies. Let's see. Oh, guys, I promise I know how to use StreamYard. Figuring it out after all these years. All right. Well, first up, this is something that you brought.
Well, so this PR dropped on Tuesday, which is particularly relevant to some of the conversations we had Tuesday. I thought at the time of it was interesting. Where it's talking about how Advarra is dropping their new AI tool, Braid. It says a lot of words. I'll give it that. I wasn't super clear on what it's actually going to do.
Well, I'll tell you what it's going to do. It's going to generate insights and powers automation across multiple systems, enabling sponsors, CRAs, and sites to optimize how they design and conduct trials. Yeah.
So it says a lot of words. And again, I think, PR kind of does that, I guess. But like, it kind of feels like Braid maybe wrote this.
It may have. It may already be too smart for all of us. Well, and so I'm interested in like a few different concepts here, though. So, look, obviously, Advarra is, one of the sort of two big IRBs that rule us all.
The Walmart and Target.
Yeah, there you go. That's fair. So they have access to a lot of data, which I think is actually another conversation about, them having access to so much data and what they may or may not do with it. But right here is a really great real life example, and mentioning that they have, they're going to be able to leverage protocol related documents and operations data, such as cycle times for startup milestones, enrollment trends, study modifications from over 30,000 studies conducted by 3,500 sponsors. And it will curate and integrate comprehensive operational data with standardized ontologies allowing for harmonization with other data sources to deliver unprecedented analytical and agentic capabilities. Do you know what that means?
You know, it's a lot of words. I hate to be too rude about it, but it's a lot of words to say something that's not super clear. And I mean, maybe they don't know. Maybe they have a lot of data. We're going to do something with it and give you analytics. I don't know. It's very buzzwordy. I'm just going to be out there and say it. Like, it's, you know, what levers do you have to pull?
I feel like that's kind of just the way of the world at this point, right?
It is. I mean, it is. I don't like it, but it is.
No, I don't like it either. But it's
well, but I want to get back to that data piece of it, because I mean, they have, like, to your point, maybe that's a different conversation. They have the data through a number of channels based on the lion's, you know, market share that they have, being, you know, the Target or Walmart, whichever you decide to align to them, and WCG, your choice. But I think what's interesting to me, and what this made me particularly think of, was the conversation we had with on Tuesday, where we talked about AI in pharma. And I mean, I think the premise of the conversation we talked about on Tuesday was garbage in, garbage out. And so the concept here, and the questions I have about just in general and what Braid is doing, but really anyone would do with this type of AI, with this type of data, is if you're using a bunch of legacy protocol information to design protocols, to optimize protocols, we know as an industry that we have a significant issue with bias and unrepresentative samples. And so if we are trying to build innovation off of legacy data that we know is flawed, AI is just going to reiterate that, and it's going to perpetuate the problem.
Perhaps so. And I think in many cases I agree with that. And this is, you know, pick this out. And again, maybe in some ways that can be like reverse engineered, right? So they're saying their first product is going to be essentially protocol improving study design. And so introduce dynamic protocol engineering to help sponsors align study designs with real-world operational realities. For example, it will flag overly complex visit schedules, highlight eligibility criteria that may slow recruitment, and recommend startup timelines based on historical site performance. So if it's got, you know, some of the crappy data that we've had in the past, like that potentially, or I guess ostensibly, gives us something to improve upon. But I guess I don't know enough to know, like, is that enough? Is that enough to...
I don't know. And like, I think that's to your point. Like, there is some interesting use case there to say what protocols took a really long time. What did they look like? Avoid protocols that look like that. Sort of like some of that, like, learnings you could probably glean from it. And I could see that being some, you know, benefit there. But ultimately, yeah, it just kind of depends on what's being promised too. And what, like, the goal is. So there, I think, again, there's of course there's potential in AI. Everyone's going to fucking do AI. I think it was like we talked about this. It's DCT. Let's make a big deal out of it. Let's say we're going to do it. In a couple of years, everyone will be doing it, but we're not going to be talking about it anymore. Like, make the big big marketing splash to show the world you're doing the new hot thing. But it could have some cool things. I mean, yeah, I may check out the webinar.
I was going to say, yeah, there is a webinar September 10th, maybe worth checking out. I might check it out just to learn more, and hell, you know, maybe that's just some more podcast fodder right there. Whatever it is. So
you realize now they're gonna, like, kick you out. They're not gonna let you watch it.
I've got so many aliases. I'll never be able to figure out. I'll never be able to figure out who it is, who I am, who's registering. You hear me, Advarra?
So
wait, you know, Braid is listening.
You know what we should do is we should launch a note to file AI agent. We can call it Brad.
Perfect. Brad versus Braid. We'll see who the winner is. Anyways, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see. I mean, look, again, if anything, if AI can help make protocols not suck, I still will sort of die on the hill that, like, the biggest problem we have is with protocol design. And a lot of things will sort of unravel if we fix protocol design. So if it can do that, man, cool. I'm a fan.
I agree if it can do that, but I think Here's the issue, and this is what we've talked about this a couple of times. I think this is the issue with tech in general, though, where people see a problem like protocol design, one of the biggest problems we have as an industry, and we try to solve it by getting fancy with it and getting cute with it. And it's like, hey, maybe if we just fucking talked to the people who are going to be involved in this, that could get us 90% of the way without spending hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars developing tools that are going to feel hip and with it. Like, just talk to the people like who are involved, talk to the patients. Like, I think people say they do it, they have advisory boards, they do that, but like, I don't think people do enough of it. And I think they try to invest here because this is where you get money. You get money from VC and PE for doing shit like this, and you don't get money for doing the actual hard work of just going out and hitting the pavement and talking to the people who are going to be affected.
I'm not entirely convinced we don't already have a pretty good idea of what the problems are.
Then why don't we change it?
I don't know. And that's just it. Again, I posted something about something silly in a contract I saw the other day. People like, oh, that's just boilerplate that they probably copied and pasted. Okay, then why are we doing that? Just if it's as simple as taking 1 second to to think about something and not just copy and paste, like that's a pretty cheap solution, right? That is also fairly intuitive.
So I was at a conference yesterday, a local conference, about like empowering women in tech, and the concept of AI coming up, and like the question came up on a panel was like, is AI going to replace our jobs and whatever? The general sentiment was, like AI is not AI, is a tool. And you know what AI is never going to be able to do is critical thinking in the way that a person can. And I think the issue is that a lot of people maybe just don't have critical thinking. So AI is about equivalent to some people. But I think if we actually used critical thinking skills in tandem with AI, that's where we can win. But I think so often people just like default to AI.
Yeah, it's very possible. We'll see. What's up? I'm going to call you Raj because I'll mispronounce your name terribly, but thank you for watching and good to see you. My favorite clinical trial journalist, Dan Schell. What's up?
Hey, Chip.
Isn't the fear with using AI for protocols that we could get lazy, boilerplate, and creating protocols and the proprietary info could get out if you're using the free version of some AI? So, and again, this is like a big, and again, I don't know. I'm not definitely speaking out of turn, but like, do this. I mean, if an IRB, yeah, they have access to all these protocols. Can they just do whatever they want with them now? Is that now their intellectual property to run through any kind of AI that they want to? I mean, that seems like if I'm a sponsor and I have sent
I would be
200 of my protocols to Advarra, and now they're like, we're going to run them through all this stuff and get insights about it. I would be like, whoa, wait a minute. Don't do that.
Bet you they're going to be sold back to them too.
Oh yeah. They'll find a way to like basically turn those insights around and monetize them back to sponsors.
I mean, I think in this scenario, like it's not necessarily, I'm sure they're using not the free versions. I'm sure they're not being that dumb about it, putting that out there. But yeah, to your point, like I think it's an interesting concept of data ownership and content ownership. What do we do? You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I'm not privy to whatever contractual arrangements they have, how they manage to get this, what data use rights they have attributed, but it's a question that would certainly crop into the old noggin.
It sure would. All right, well, let's get to the real fun topics here. And again, you guys know I love to just screw around on Reddit with regularity. And this is one I found particularly fun from about a day ago. We're having a research boxing match. What 2 roles are you putting in the ring? The original poster here, CRC versus small biotech sponsor PM, or CRC versus PI as an honorable mention. We got some fun ones in here. Startup team versus PI, CRC versus central lab vendor. And you can see all the reasons. I would recommend going and read this. I think it's kind of a career CRC versus newbie CRA. I can get behind that.
I would buy tickets to that. I'd buy pay-per-view for that.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones. I mean, what do you think? What are the 2 sort of most often at odds roles out there, like in the space?
I'm gonna take my lens on it from like the vendor side of things. I would love to see the key, I don't know, decision maker and their procurement person. Like anyone versus procurement. I think that's fascinating. Not that like I'm sure there's lovely procurement people out there, but it has a bit of a reputation.
I don't even know what that.
You're buying software, right? Like they basically like review and make sure it meets, like, especially like you don't have this, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. But like large institutions have like procurement departments to make sure that they're not following like bribes and shit as they buy software and you're on an approved vendor list or whatever. Like any sort of pharma CRO has one. You have to go through this approval process to get on an approved vendor list to make sure you're following all the things. And like the user, the person who's buying it wants your system and you want them to have the system. And then there's the procurement in the middle. So maybe it's like a 2v1 match.
Got it. It's a tag team, you know, they can tag in.
What about you? What would you do?
I mean, as much as I want to say something like external, it really might be CRC versus PI, if I'm being perfectly honest, in my regard. I feel like PIs for the CRC is like your best friend and your worst enemy at times. I think it probably depends on the model you're working in, but like we work with a lot of practicing physicians that are embedded in their clinics. Well, you can imagine that can create a lot of different, conflicting priorities at times. So, it stinks because as a CRC, you want to make your sponsor happy. You want your CRA to not be breathing down your neck. But if you can't get your PI to sit in front of a rave and sign off on a CRF, which sounds very simple, but in fact can be very complicated. You look bad to everybody. Or, can't tell how many times you are dragging along your PI to a monitor visit and they're literally like, yeah, okay, okay, cool, this is the SIV, yeah, okay, oh, hold on a minute, I gotta take this, which again, they're busy. I completely understand. It's not even a blame thing or like their fault, but man, sometimes it feels like it's hurting cats to manage PIs at the site level. That's how I feel.
You know what other one I think I would want to see is an experienced CRC and a really new fresh CRC. Maybe the same with like a CRA. Maybe, anything. Anyone who's new and fresh and excited, and then anyone who's like grizzled and haggard and had been through it, like in any role. I think that's like a dynamic that I think is fascinating.
Yeah. Yep. I think
there it is. Yeah, new first experienced CRC.
Right. There's a lot of like Dunning-Kruger effect at the site level, I think, where it's like you run a study and you're like, oh shit, I know all this. I'm a genius now. Like I know everything. And I'll tell you, like I'm 15 years in and like there are things that I'm still like, I don't know, man. I got to figure this out. This is something new that's presenting itself after being involved in hundreds of studies and all the other things. So it's a weird job where you have to like learn that you don't know a lot and then like learn how to figure it out. But I think people come in new. I mean, a lot of jobs, you can come in, you can get trained for a few months and you pretty much more or less know how to do the job. And I feel like CRC is not that. Every protocol, every vendor, every sponsor, every CRA, everything is almost like starting from scratch. And if you don't, you don't learn that, you think you know it all until you learn.
I've always thought about it as far as like you need to build like the schema or the framework so you understand where to put the thing. So it's like I always explain this where it's like you're carrying a bag of groceries and you have a shelf. Well, your job is to build the shelf and know where to put those groceries. And so every time you bring a bag of groceries home, you know where those things go. It's going to be different. It's going to be a different type of starch and a different type of vegetable and whatever. But you've built this like schema where you understand at least the framework of it. You don't know exactly what it's going to be, but you have like at least a structure. And so that's like the first hurdle is doing that. And then you realize it's fucking empty and you don't know anything. But at least you have the schema to operate under. Right.
I do want to go back to the AI conversation a little bit and somebody mentioning I think this is Amanda Martin. You show up as LinkedIn user, but shout out Amanda. Thanks for the comment. I mean, yes, there are closed AI systems, but I still wonder, like, if you're using, presumably, like, the IRBs are under some level of non-disclosure, like, to all of these protocols. They can't just hand them out. I mean, it's a closed AI system, but I don't know. I'm curious to know more about the
I think there's two separate
ramifications
issues,
of
right?
that.
Like there's one is like leaking proprietary information to something where you no longer have control of it. If you put it in a public system, like if you were to dump a protocol into free version of ChatGPT, like that could be out there in the world. Like that's one piece of it. So yes, you can have closed systems, paid for systems, proprietary systems that you're putting information in, and the risk of exposing that is less, right? Like that's not necessarily the primary concern. The other side of this is that, do you have the right to use the data in that way? And do you have the right to like monetize from that? You know what I mean? Like use it and then monetize. And that's going to be totally dependent on whatever those contractual relationships and obligations are between the parties. And that could vary, very, very widely.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there's, and again, maybe they have some agreements built in. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see what they do with all of this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And we got just a couple of minutes. I just want to touch really quickly on something that I found to be true, and is a little bit of a just fun little meme that somebody created here about site selection. Essentially showing that, like, it's not always about the hard metrics that lead to site selection. Sometimes it's more about the, whether you're nice and you have food and you have a nice toilet that, a CRA can use. And
I'm sorry, who has dedicated toilets though? I want to get back.
Well, I mean, if you can have like a clinic, like a toilet in your clinic versus like the public
bathroom
restroom. Okay. Yeah. So, maybe that's a nice thing. But I will say, I always love hearing these stories like from CRAs, and I try to ask them. So again, a fun thread to go through where, someone's saying like a desk would be nice because I've had to work in a patient infusion chair with a laptop on top of a suitcase. And somebody saying, where was it? Made me laugh a little bit too. Anyway, someone having to like work out of a pharmacy and having to like stand on top of a chest freezer, which seems completely insane.
So my question is why are you having to stand on top of a chest freezer?
I can't imagine logistically what that would even look like. And then someone else mentioning they had to work in a standing desk, but the standing desk was too low, so they spent the whole time bent over. Like just stuff like that. I mean, I've had monitors tell me they've worked out of stairwells, and I do really think like if you're a site, there's like it's undervalued just how much being nice and giving a nice space to a CRA can be, because not always the case, but if the CRA is there to do your site selection, they might be the one who's coming to your site all the time. And if they are, what do you think? And what do they want? They want a decent place to work. And
they want a place to work
with nice people to work with.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was.
I mean, this is like a great thread advocating for like remote monitoring.
Well, we can get into that someday. I still don't understand why remote monitoring has not become more of the norm.
Yeah, it makes zero sense to me. I mean, like there's some things like, you want to get there. You want to like, I don't know, like you want to get your hands on it, make sure it's real, make sure the facility is there for some things. But yeah, from a monitoring perspective, I feel like a lot of times it probably doesn't need to be. Makes everyone's life easier.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan, you know what? Advertise third thing, or is it talking about a toilet? I never said it'd be a good third thing. I just said there would be a third thing. And this is Amanda Martin again. Had to work on the floor on a box for a desk.
There's another one.
What's up, Marta? Remember at CRA's training, our lecture showed stories of being locked up in moldy basements with no bathroom all day, trying to make sense of the mess of documentation. Yeah, dude, this is again, like, I
feel like that's a 911 call.
I was going to say, like, that's hazardous. You should be, talk to HR or something about that. Yeah, it's crazy. This is why, again, I have the utmost like respect for CRAs, even when I get annoyed by them, because like they're dealing with jerks like me like 15 times across all these different sites, you know, and not to mention the conditions they may or may not be working out of. So again, props to CRAs out there. Appreciate what you guys do. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. Trying to keep these things to the tight 30 minutes. Anything else you want to add?
No, not
what do we got? What do we got Tuesday?
So Tuesday, that's on you. I am at a all team on site, so I will not be available on Tuesday. So you got to figure out what you want to do on Tuesday, or if you want to do something. Anybody
want to come on Tuesday and talk? Get at me. Maybe we'll do something a little bit. We'll get silly with it. We'll get a little bit of experimental.
And then Thursday, we're going to be on Jess Thompson's webinar.
Yep. So we're doing something about, I believe, talking about mental health with Jess Thompson.
Which flows nicely into those, CRA conversations we just had today.
It's true. So, thanks guys for tuning in. We'll be back. I'll be back in some form next week on Tuesday. It'll be a surprise.
And I have a day job.
Good for you. You're so important.
Duh.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.